And you're looking live at Legends Field here in Kansas City. Dan Vaughn with you here on Monarchs Mocha for your Friday. Happy Friday to you. Ballpark getting ready for tonight's Monarchs and Lake Country Dockhounds matchup. Game 2 of the series. Of course, the Monarchs Mocha brought to you by the Roastery Coffee Company. Let's roll the open in 3, 2, 1. Talk a little Monarchs baseball right here. All righty. Enough of the coffee jams. Enough of the coffee jams. Enough of the coffee jams. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. A little late today. Well, it's Friday, right? It's Friday, right? That's my excuse. Anyway, or the 70 minutes of walking I did in a warm morning this morning. It's a little warmer today than what it has been. Got mine right here. And actually, I guess I should probably adjust me and the camera there. Nick's behind me. He's slinging tickets. He's so busy. He's so busy. I mean, I walked in. It was like I had to fight with the smoke. The guy's like a busy man. Good to have him always in the back. We had the best background. It's sort of like we're doing like one of those telethons, you know. And he's standing behind, and I'm like kind of pushing whatever product we're doing, whatever calls. Yeah, call him now, folks. Call him now. Yeah, monarchsbaseball.com, the place to go for tickets, by the way. That's a good place to start. Now, let me grab my hot sheet, courtesy of Morgan's great work. Who, by the way, last night, if you were here or you were watching online last night, great to see Morgs last night doing her thing. She is a rock star. You would have thought she'd been, and we hadn't seen her MC in a while. It's been a while. I mean, she didn't do it last year. It's been since 19. You would have thought that, she did it yesterday. I mean, I wish my broadcast sounded like that opening day. Heck, I wish my broadcast sounded like that tonight, like she sounded after all that time off. I don't, I sound like I just started most of the time. Anyway, glad you're along today. We'll take your questions and comments. We will go through the news of yesterday again. Just quickly, I don't want to go through too much of it, but I think it's important for you folks that didn't tune in yesterday or missed the game last night. First off, the good news, the Monarchs won 3-2. We'll give those highlights in a moment. Number two, there was a busy day yesterday, and we get busy days, but not quite like that. That one was a crazy one for my team, and a great shout out to my crew for a phenomenal job they did. We really had a busy one, and it was a busy and emotional day. And I'm checking the audio. Yep, audio's all good. Hey, Tim, good to see you as well. Checking in to see what everybody's saying out there. It was an emotional day too. So you throw the emotional day of it. You throw a lot of things in. Post All-Star break, getting back going again. Emotions with the two moves that were major emotional moves, and then you throw in the series opener and just the busyness of it all. It was a crazy day. I will tell you this. I don't usually dread interviews. To me, the interview process that I do is part of the job. Now, it's not my favorite part of the job. I don't. There are some broadcasters who love the interview thing. I don't dislike it. I like the interview in the broadcast booth. I love when people come in the booth and I'm calling the game. I'm able to go back and forth. The sit-down interview, not terrible. I'm not. It's not my favorite thing, but it's not the thing it's not the thing on the top of my list of things that I dread about my gig. Everybody's got things you dread, but I will say this. I knew yesterday was going to be an emotional day, just from the topics and all the things that have been going on. And I want to say dread's the wrong word. I went into with a heavy heart yesterday, knowing that we had to talk about it. And we had to talk about Gabby Guerrero stepping down and leaving the ball club, retiring, whatever you want to call it. Akeem Bostic, who meant a lot to this ball club as well, and a lot to me personally. And Jackson and I talked about that last night. These two guys meant a lot to a lot of people. I can't tell you how many times I got a fist bump from Gabby and from Akeem. how many times I would see Gabby walking across the parking lot at the apartments, and he'd always big smile, "How you doing, Dan?" And I just, and I'll even tell you this, Gabby. I don't think he wanted to do those, those returns we do for the radio. Hi, this is so and so. You're listening to Monarchs. This was his favorite thing about the job, but he did it for me, and always did it with a smile and some enthusiasm. He was always, I know he wasn't always comfortable with his performance, but he did great, I thought, and I just appreciated him. And I think there was a lot of emotion. So yesterday had a lot of emotions to it, tied into what was going on. So again, Gabby Gray retired, and King Bostic was traded to Kentucky in the Atlantic League. The part we didn't really talk about, and we're going to talk about more today, I want to focus on this, is the Matt Hall return. Now, it's sort of an oh, by the way, which it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be an oh, by the way. This team got significantly better yesterday, even with the departure of Bostic and Gabby Guerrero. The reason I say that, Gabby, in a very busy clubhouse of position bats, you have a lot of guys that, we talked about this, and Joe's kind of chuckled. Who do you sit from night to night? Everybody's been sitting from night to night, and you've got a lot of depth there, and you still got roster spots available. I mean, we hadn't even talked about what Chad De La Guerra has done for this ball club in the last, couple of weeks since he's been here. But again, getting Matt Hall back, I think, and then Mark makes a great point. It's a great team that also, yes, and we really, I agree with that 100%. Ronnie says, pitched phenomenal last night. Yes. Great to be back in the stadium. Great to have you there last night. And having him back. I mean, I was reading some older, and I say older by a week or so, that were some blogs that were written the last week for rating the team's first half. And Kansas City got a pretty good passing mark, but the knock was, well, who's the real ace? They don't have the 1-2 punch that Fargo has or whatever. Well, I contend you got a 1-2-3 punch. And you've got a pretty good staff developing with Matt Hall, and then you've got Hartman, and then you've got Harris and Thorpe. And I think Thorpe he's been as steady as they go the whole time. You've got 4 really, really good pieces. And Belzer, if he can get healthy, you got 5 really, really good pieces right there that any given night can give you 6, and then some nights 7 and 8, and really lock down teams. And makes that bullpen work so much easier and so much shorter. But yeah, he was great last night, no doubt about it in that one. But great stuff last night. Appreciate it. I'll see if my screen, my chat up. All right, well. Yeah, last night, line for Hall, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Nothing to complain about there. Nothing whatsoever. That was outstanding work. And what Jackson, I talked about this last night, Hall to right-handed batters. I don't want to step in there. Not that I'm afraid the ball hit me, because I'm afraid of where it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to be. You're right-handed batter, and how he had the 7 strikeouts. And let me look at my sheet here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 were against right-handed batters. So I would tell you that that is pretty impressive stuff. So having him back right there, your team got significantly better right there. More depth in the pitching staff. So any of the pundits, the pundits around the league can say, well, oh my gosh, you got Matt Hall back. And what Hartman's done, and what Harris has done, and what Thorpe has done, and what Belzer's done. I mean, you got to feel pretty good about that. So lost in some of the things yesterday was that. And also one more piece, Jacob Lindgren had pitched very well in relief until he went on the disabled list and the inactive list, and now off that list yesterday. Don't discount what that left-handed, it gives you now 2 left-handed pieces. Martinson's carried the bulk of that lately. And now you've got 1 more lefty down there, especially earlier in the ballgame. Martinson's had to go 2 1/3, 2 2/3 in some situations. You can now have Lindgren down there, and you need a lefty in the 6th. And then you've got Martinson as a lefty or righty in the 8th or 7th or 8th inning, and Brandon Coach 7th or 8th, and get to McGrain. I mean, you got it all set up nicely for you right there. And again, that's just, the team just got better yesterday. All right, let's roll the highlights from last night. Let me get those queued up for you here. And let's do that. Let's bring this down so you guys can see this. There we go. here at Monarchs Mocha, brought to you by the Roastery Coffee Company. And let's play the last night's good news highlights. Here we go. Casey Gillespie bats 6. The Sweeney hits one out toward right field, drifting back at the warning track and reaching up, and that ball's gone. See you later. Solo home run, Darnell Sweeney. He will touch them all. It kept carrying and carrying and carrying, and just over that. 1-2. Towered out toward right. Drifting out is Carranza. Coming in is Yo. It'll be Carranza, the second baseman, makes the play. Tagging from third, coming home and scoring. Heading to third is John Hernandez. De La Guerra coming home. And Carranza, the second baseman. Ball one strike. There goes Thompson. Grounded right side. Base hit down the line toward the corner. Thompson's on the move here. Rounding third. Here's a relay throw. There'll be no throw. They'll walk it off. On Casey Gillespie's line shot down the right field line. A walk-off winner. 3-2 Kansas City. There we go. It's last night's excuse me, good news highlights. A bit of a different reel because that one, a lot of times those are right sync to the video and the audio, but that was cut up for the melt for the post-game show or for the TV stations. So it had some cutaway shots. The audio, I just let it run through there and it worked. So it wasn't perfect. Although I will tell you, I didn't like my call in of course, you know my perfections anyway, but I couldn't get out of my mouth line shot, ground shot, what that was shot. And what I should have done was, my normal thought was, Casey Gillespie, we've seen that time and time again. He hits those rockets down the line, and he had one earlier in the ball game against the lefty to the left side that went foul just by a few feet. And that's a tailor-made Gillespie play right there. Also, that double last night for Casey, which went as a double, ties him 7th all-time franchise history, which means Duluth, Kansas City, both T-Bones and Monarchs, in extra base hits. So that still a little ways to go to the top 5, but he's now the top 7. I still firmly believe he'll finish this year, 4-3, somewhere in there in extra base hits. So big news last night for Casey Gillespie and the walk-off winner. Mark says, sorry about that. Had a great start. His bullpen almost laid him down. The offense bailed him out. Yes. I will tell you this, Mark, and I like your thinking. I liked to do last night, and I was telling this to Jackson in the postgame show. This club's got so many ball games that have been, out of the 54 games we played, 10 of the games have been one-run games. That's it. So, basically, what is that, 5%? Been one-run games, something like that. Or 10%, I guess, one-run games. The flip of the coin is the Monarchs have a lot of these 4+ run games where they won going away. Now, there's been a few losses like that, too, only I think 4, but I believe it was 22 wins the Monarchs have had with winning by 4 more runs. And, that also coincides with the fact there's not been a lot of comeback wins lately. Consequently, there's not a lot of blown opportunities. That's good as well. And it's one of those weird deals. But I think, and what we talked about last night, winning a game like that, a grinded-out game against a team that's gritty and, was really, when Lake Country's, they got nothing to lose but going out there and just throwing it out there, right? They did. And it was a really weird moment, and I'll try to find out more about that today, where they had a reliever come in last night. It was Cirilla Watson came in, and apparently was not on the official card exchange for the ball game. He had to come out of the game and couldn't even pitch. So who knows what happens in that 9th inning if he's able to go out there. I don't know. Nate says, can you run down? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Nate. Okay. What I believe happened was, and before each game, I don't have a sample of them, but there's a card. It's a, I say sheet, and the manager fills out his 1 through 9, and his pitcher, and his bench, and his bullpen. Who's down there, and their numbers. The number, and that's why rosters are very important. We give a roster to each team before the ball game of each club, and that way you know that player A is number 12, player B is number 11, whatever. And those are handwritten out, usually by the manager or one of his staff, and it's got several copies. It's a old school, what's it called, mimeograph type paper, but it's got a top sheet's white, there's a pink sheet, a yellow sheet, and a green sheet, and they're all stacked up. And you give the umpire a sheet, and you exchange with their manager another sheet, and then usually there's an extra one the media sort of gets. We've already got that in advance. We get the lineup card way in advance. Joe has an official lineup card he puts on the door in the clubhouse, and then the dugout, and Jim Bennett will too. Those are in the clubhouse already. We get those in advance. But what happens is they wind up exchanging those cards, and the best guess we can have is that Watson wasn't on that card. It doesn't mean he was on the roster, Nate. He was on the roster because he's on the roster looking at it right here, but he wasn't on the one that was exchanged to the umpires. And I believe Jeff Head, the crew chief, was motioned over by the plate umpire, and it was Jordan Sandberg. And Jordan Sandberg pulled it out and said, wait. Because they always double check. When a guy comes in, and you'll see Joe sometimes too, or Jim Bennett or whoever, they'll sometimes look when a guy comes in and just kind of check. You'll see a little double check. And oftentimes a new pitcher comes in, plate umpire will put the mask up, and or the mask on the side there, and he'll pull out the roster, and he'll kind of mark down who came in. And just mark down that Watson's in the ball game. And apparently he was in the ball game, but he wasn't on that official, not what we have upstairs and not what I have on the air, but what the umpires have, which is actually the official during the game roster. When the game is done, the official box score comes back to the media relations department. That's officially how the ball game went down. So the box score is official once the game is done. But during the process of the ball game, the actual roster is what the umpires have. And that's what happened last night. I hope that does make some sense there to you, Nate. Missed you too, by the way, for having tonight. Let's see here. What happened? Yeah, I don't know what was said. We did note at the time he didn't. I thought the call was ball 2. It was a 1-2 count, I believe. The pitch looked outside. I thought, and I kind of was already ready to give it a 2-2 count. I was kind of pausing, and he got rung up on that breaking ball away. I said it, yeah, it was close, whatever. And Matt did, and I even mentioned Matt didn't like it, and I agree with him 100%. He said his piece and walked away. Now, what happened after that, all I can presume is they got down there and there was some chirping from the dugout. I didn't see a demonstrative Jordan Sandberg say, "You're out of here." I didn't see that. I didn't hear the crowd. A lot of times when the umpire does that, you hear the crowd go, "Oh, boo," Didn't hear that either. We'll hear that in the crowd mic. I didn't hear that in our headphones. Jackson and I were chatting at the time, and he didn't see it either, but it had to be arguing after the fact and whatever magic words were said. That's my presumption. But again, that was unfortunate because that happened in the 9th inning. But yeah, that's what I guess happened. Would be interesting to know what would have happened had he pitched. Yes. Well, yes. And that's funny you should bring that up, Mark. Yesterday on Monarchs 101, and it didn't air because of time constraints, because of all the Gabby news, I did a piece, and I'll air it tonight, on a protest that the Monarchs played in 1944. And one of the things the Negro Leagues were trying to do was prevent some of the nonsense that was going on. And that's why in 1920, at the Paseo down here in Kansas City, Rube Foster and J.L. Wilkinson and company found the Negro National League because there were poaching going on. There were guys that, you'd call a guy up during the season and say, "Hey, how much they're paying you? Okay, we'll pay you $100 more." And boom, the guy was gone. Players would play, for example, with Philadelphia or Hillsdale one game for 3 games, and during the playoffs might show up and play for somebody else, for Homestead. That was very common. It was also frowned upon. So what the Negro Leagues are trying to do is prevent some of the nonsense that was going on and be more like the major leagues. But unfortunately, there were stretches during the times of the Negro Leagues in the 1940s. The Martin brothers, J.B. Martin at that time was the head of the Negro American League in Chicago. He also by that time had taken over the American Giants. And oh, by the way, his brother owned the Memphis Ball Club. So he had two brothers who owned teams, and one was a commissioner. And there was some stuff going on, and the Monarchs were playing the American Giants in Chicago in 1944. And there were players that had played 2 weeks prior to this game against the American Giants in Detroit for the Detroit Stars. And the Monarchs are like, wait, we did nothing about this. When was this trade? And that, they would inform the clubs of who was available for your trade, what happened, and that's why these transaction sheets. Well, the Monarchs were protesting that, and there was another guy who played the week before for somebody else, and boom, was there, and the Monarchs were like, wait, where'd this guy come from? We didn't know that he'd been signed. There were no proper waiver channels and all that, and that's what the Negro Leagues were trying to do. And it's funny you bring that up, Mark, because we were talking about that yesterday in the pregame, and that would have been in theory, yes. If he's not in that lineup card and that's exchanged for the ball game, in theory, you're going to protest it. Now, probably if the game would have already been official, they would not do anything about it. But during at the time, and I don't think either team caught it. I believe, and I could be wrong, and I'll ask Joe this today, but I believe it was the umpire, Jordan Sandberg, who caught it because he called over Jeff Heath, and Heath went down the dugout. We came back from the break, and Heath was down there. And I presume last night, he might have been down there using the facilities because there's facilities in the dugouts, but that wasn't the case. So anyway, I'm curious what happened in the first inning with Matt Adams being walked. Yes, now that's something we're not sure of either, Ronnie, because the box score is not correct from what we understand. Now, what we believe happened there, we don't know this for a fact till today. We're going to try to find out for the umpires. We believe there was a quick pitch warning that occurred in that inning. I think it happened on the John Hernandez at bat. There was a quick pitch. John was like, "What?" And I think he was warned the quick pitch. Now, what we think happened was there was a quick pitch again, and he was awarded first base. That's what we think happened. But again, we don't know that for a fact because we didn't get a chance to get down there after the ball game, and there's no button for that. That's a rare thing that happened. But the count, remember in that at bat for Adams, time was called, and Sandberg walked around in front and stood there for a moment, almost as if, you're not going to throw until I move myself back over here behind the plate. And it was clearly he had called time, and there was a little chippiness early on with the time and the speed of the pitch. And I don't know how much that was, but let's see. Maybe read the rest of it. What happened first one? Yeah, and I think what Jim came out to say, and I know Jim very well. I asked him for the ball game. I think he came out to say, what happened there? And I think they said quick. We believe it was a quick pitch warning. He quick pitched again on Matt Adams on that 3-0 count, or I'm sorry, I believe he quick pitched on that 3-1. And it was a strike, but I think he went ahead and gave him. I think that's what, or maybe he didn't even pitch. Maybe what happened was, I believe, if I remember the sequence correctly in the play-by-play sheet, it was 2-1, 3-1, and before they threw ball 4, they gave him first base because that pitch was quick pitch. I believe. Again, that's not 100% we believe, and it was weird. And it caught a lot of us off guard. And it's not one of those things the umpire can give a message up, and you kind of know. For example, if a guy gets hit, he'll kind of point, or in a balk, when a balk's called time, they point and move the runners to bases. And so the traffic direction, what's going on. The balk's been called, and you can sometimes hear the balk called on the headphones or in the crowd mic. It's kind of like when interference happens, and I don't believe it was interference. It could have been, but we don't believe it was. So anyway, Good to see Chris out there, by the way. Yes, there you go. You guys greeting each other. Sneedo. All good, all good, all good. So yes, that's what we think happened there last night. Is who's behind me? Hello, everybody. We were just talking about you. It was like you'd done the MC thing before. It's been you hadn't missed a trick. She hadn't missed a trick. I swear, it's like she did it like all year. I mean, I go on the air tonight. I sound like I've never done it before. She does it last night and done it since 19. Like, whatever.
Coming to the game tonight, we have a tribute to Gabby.
Oh, yes, a Gabby tribute tonight. We're excited about that, and yeah, it was cool to see. They played. Well, I guess it was Brady played the walk-up song last night. Also, batted without batting gloves in the first inning. So in his second inning. So, coming out tonight. Yes, the Gabby tribute video was something they're working on today. Tonight is the Tiger tailgate. It's MU night, Missouri Tiger night tonight. I have no horse in the fight for either one of these two teams this weekend, so that are coming to celebrate Kansas and Missouri. But there's a lot of venom there. It's funny because my cousins who live here are huge Missouri folks. Even though they're UT grads in Austin, husband and wife are, and the kids are all 2 kids are Missouri and one's a Missouri State. But they're ravenous about not liking KU. Then my KU mates are ravenous against Missouri. It's kind of funny. Don't you guys love it when you have rivals that you know and you're kind of not one? You're kind of just sitting there going, it's like when your siblings get in a fight and one of them they both get in trouble and you don't. It's kind of like that. You're kind of sitting there in a house of 4 kids. I got a lot of this. You guys enjoy that. Enjoy that dealing with dad or mom. Anyway, Kevin, is Gabby still here? No. I do believe he left yesterday early. He was obviously in Chicago. The day's Friday. Gang got back Wednesday. I think he left Wednesday from Chicago. I think he may have swung back through here on his way, but he was not here yesterday. That question came up last night on the broadcast. Will we see him again? I would not be shocked if you did. And the reason I say that is because the way the connection this team has with each other. Remember last year when John Hernandez was playing with AAA with the Reds in Louisville, he was watching and listening to our broadcast of what we were doing and what this club was doing. He knew what was going on. I would imagine that Gabby will be not only watching and listening to what we're doing, he'll be in touch with those guys. He's very close to John Hernandez. He's very close to a lot of those guys. I know Ian McGrain and Casey, all those guys. Darnell, they're all very close to him. And a lot of those guys were also, part of our baseball chapel program. He was part of that too. So I know there's a lot of that. There are a lot of close-knit relationships there. But I would not be shocked that down the road, he will step foot near at some point again. Okay, I just don't know when that'll be. Let's see here. Kind of. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Kind of like UT. Yeah, it's like, I watch UT in Oklahoma and I don't care. Well, now I do care. I sort of want Oklahoma to win, but again, you KU folks, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You're the two. You definitely want to pull for OU over Texas, I think. Ronnie says, yes. Far as I know, and Gabby does have. I believe he is. Do I have that listed here? He's actually spends a lot of time in Arizona. Now he is from the Dominican Republic, and the Guerrero family is from there, but they also are out in Arizona. And I believe Vlad is in Arizona. By the way, Kevin pointed this out. I talked to Kevin Luco this morning on the phone. I didn't dawn on me at the time, but Gabby wore number 27 in the All-Star game in Chicago. Of course, Vladimir wore 27. Junior wears 27, and he wore 27. Gabby, of course, went to the All-Star game last year in Denver when his cousin was named the MVP, and they're a very close family. That's a very close family, and I imagine he's with his loved ones. He's with people who supports him because that's a hard decision. we've all been faced with decisions in life that we have to say, okay, it's time to move on. Some of them are harder than others. Um, whether it be in life, in that one, for a guy who's a ball player, that's what you do. You're a ball player, and suddenly you're no longer a ball player. You're a former ball player, and that's a tough thing for anybody. I recall my first meeting at CBS Radio in Dallas. I was sitting in the boardroom in our sales meeting we had on a Wednesday or whatever it was, and I'm wearing my Midwest League championship ring, and I'm looking down at it, and someone sitting next to me goes, "Oh, it's a cool ring." And I just got it in. I just got it in the mail. I just left the Burlington Bees. I just had this job for just a short time, and I'm sitting in this corporate office, and I remember overcome with emotion, knowing I wasn't a broadcaster in the minor leagues anymore. I was now working at CBS Radio, and while I was excited about that opportunity, and it brought me some great things ahead, it was a very emotional time, and I remember being in a bit of a quandary emotionally for a while, and really probably for quite a while. For me, luckily, I was able to make a comeback, a few years later. But we've all been there, right? We've all been in that situation where, for whatever reason, we've had to say goodbye to something that we really were into. And Gabby's been a ball player. That's what he's done. And I mentioned that it was a very emotional interview with Joe. And what I mean by that, we weren't breaking down, but you could feel we were both this is a serious. This is not talking about the Swope Health Report, which is serious. It wasn't something we were just oh, let's talk about the heat. It's hot out there. It wasn't like we're just throwing out questions. This was a passionate thing that meant something to him, and also the Akeem Bostic deal, which we hadn't even talked a lot about that, like I think we should. But Bostic meant a lot to Joe. I mean, Joe Capietro saw Akeem Bostic make the big leagues last year, the first former player that went from this program to the big leagues. And we've had players in the big leagues prior, and players go back, like Eric Stout went back, but we never had a guy who had made his debut in the big leagues and was a player here for either T-Bones or Monarchs. And that was very important. It was a very important milestone. That's a big deal. So anyway, we were just talking about you guys, by the way. About last night, Jeff, we had a little. I was just talking to Nate a minute ago about you and about Nate, both of y'all. Just chatting about you guys. Yeah, see, there he is. There's Nate right there. Jeff Miller and Nate Miller, Miller Times. We're just talking about you guys. Why are we talking about them? Because why are we talking about them?
Well, Nate was here last night, but Scott.
Oh yeah, Scott Hall. Yeah, Scott Hall was here. That's what we're talking about. Scott Hall being here last night. Yes, that's what it was. And we're talking about the old days when Miller Time would go grab me some snacks at Daniel's before after the game. Always count on you to have me covered, mate. Mark says, I'll get back here. Sorry, Ordo. Yeah, I think that is something that would be advanced. I believe. I think that is something if he wanted to, and I would think that would be something they would do. I think that'd be a great move. I think having an ambassador of the brand would be great, and having a guy with his knowledge would be great. I agree. I think that's a great thing, and I would not rule that out down the road. I think now you kind of want to let things die. Yes. Yes, he wore 20. Yeah, and I didn't. Did we talk about that today, Kevin? I don't think we did, but anyway. Yes, I saw that too, and so many things going that All-Star game. And when I was trying to watch it on your phone, which is great, but I was trying to do it was a weird week for us. I don't know if I mentioned this to the broadcast last night, but our air went out at our house in Dallas. And the upstairs, the house is like 95.
Oh,
yeah. When it got fixed on Wednesday, even when I left on Wednesday night, it was still in the 80s up there because it's still. Yeah, we had to go seek refuge at our in-laws. We had to pack them up, go to my in-laws. It was so hot. Oh my gosh. All right, last call for questions and comments tonight. Game 2. Oh, I was saying earlier, and Mark, you were talking about this too. I think winning that game last night, again, and maybe I'm trying to stretch things too much here, but winning close games in those situations, the kind of game you're going to have to win in the postseason. That's the kind of game you look back to Fargo last year in the finals that you won. You had that game. Remember the 2 games there? You scored. You were going away early in the first one. Game 2, you had a big lead. They came back. You had some key plays late, like a play at the plate, a play for Casey at first base, and a big insurance run late. Some quality pitching late as well. There was a bases loaded strikeout for Carlos Diaz in that second ball game. You're going to have those tight moments. Last night was one of them. Bases, second and third, and the ground ball the second when the infield drawn in. De La Guerra comes home dead red. A great throw from Yon to third to hold the runner in second. The great play by Almeida to go up the line, up and make the play at the plate. If that ball gets behind it, they might score a run there. And even though Jameson's backing him up, Almeida did all he could do to get up the ground and make the play and come back down with it. And that was a huge, huge play last night. So you have a lot of those little things that in a nip and tuck game were huge for the Monarchs last night. And I will tell you that that was a good one to win. So game 2 tonight, again, gates at 6 o'clock tonight. It's a Tiger tailgate, appearance by Truman the Tiger, MU Spirit Squad, pregame skydivers sponsored by Southern Star. That's tonight. Of course, it's Friday night at the Ball Yard, and always a great night at the ballpark, right? Your Monarchs are really good. By the way, we didn't even get this last night on the postgame. We were talking, but they weren't done yet. So let me refresh that with all the developments last night. Now, Fargo did hold on last night. So Kansas City is 2 games behind Fargo, but Chicago, with the loss last night, pulls back even with the Monarchs, the second best record. So Kansas City now at 35-18. They're 2 back of Fargo. Winnipeg, with the pair of wins now, is 6 behind Kansas City, 8 behind Fargo. Lincoln's 10.5 back. They're 8.5 behind the Monarchs. And then down at the bottom, this is interesting. Last night, the win for Sioux Falls shot them over Sioux City. Sioux City now finds himself in the cellar at 15.5 back at 21-31. Sioux Falls is now 15 back, and they're only 4.5 games behind Lincoln for that 4th spot. So Canaries aren't done yet, and you're going to see them again very soon here at this ballpark at the end of the month. So they've got, they may, and unlike years past for Sioux Falls where they were hot out of the gate and cooled later, they may be doing the reverse now and making a move there. Now they are still 9 below, but in that East Division, mentioned Chicago, they're 7.5 games clear of King County. Milwaukee's 9.5 back. The Gary 14.5 back, but Cleburne has won 5 in a row, and wouldn't you know it, they're a half game out of that 4th spot coming into play tonight. They're playing Lincoln tonight, and then Lake Country's 16.5 back. They dropped 4 in a row, but they're 2 out of that spot. So it's tight toward the bottom now, and Lake Country's got a lot to play for here. And again, Cleburne is on a roll. So that series against them winning last week looks huge, and the one where they won here is still doesn't look so shabby now, does it? Because they have rolled off 5 wins in a row and find themselves a half game out behind Gary. And don't look now, but they are 5.5 games behind Milwaukee for 3rd. And I'm here to tell you, you don't want to play Cleburne in that East Division in the postseason. Don't want to. So anyway, that's the update in the standings right there as we play here on the 15th of July. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Yes, looking forward to seeing you at the park tonight. Even Tiger fans. Yes, Nate. I know that you'll be a very fine. You'll be like me. Because you're a K-State guy, so you're gonna be kind of like me, kind of kicking back. I mean, it's weird because the time that Missouri played Tech in sports for that window of the Big 12 wasn't very long, so it wasn't like a huge rivalry anyway. But yeah, hey, you know what? I want people. I think it's a great thing to get these folks out here and celebrate their schools. It's a great, great thing. All the schools we have in the area. Although I'm gonna have to get me a custom-made Monarchs Red Raiders shirt. I'll wear that every time. Okay, to get work on that. Yes, Labor Day weekend against the Fargos will be very exciting. I look toward down that August stretch mark. There's really there's 3 stretches that I'm really looking forward to. One comes up next week. It's the trip to Milwaukee for 4, on the back end 3 at Fargo. That's a big swing right there. That's a huge one next week. And then the 2 trips to Winnipeg, which basically are 3 weeks in a row. You've got Winnipeg twice there, once here. So I'm going to book in those as one trip, the 2 trips to Canada, which I think will be very, very important for both Winnipeg and for us. And the final stretch is that series here. And I firmly believe, just like every other year, something big will be going on that weekend. Now, last year, the Monarchs already claimed a division title. I don't think you'll see that this year, but you could very easily, the pecking order will be very important, and that's what you'll probably come down to. You're going to get the last crack at them here, and that's why this series up there is huge coming up the tail end next weekend. So next weekend, next Friday, we'll be in Fargo for a big matchup of the 1 and 2 clubs, and it's those three little parts of the schedule. This trip coming up, the 2 trips to Winnipeg in 3 weeks, and that last series. I think those 3 are all going to be very exciting. And that's what I talked about yesterday. We're down the downhill. We're downhill that roller coaster now. We went up, we're down, coming down, we're speeding down that hill. And everything we go forward, we're one day closer to the postseason. And these games at home are huge because you don't have a lot of home games. You get these home series wins, that's huge. I think this road trip will be as big as anything. If you can come out of this road trip coming up, and let's say you can go 4-3, stay above 500 on the road, I think you feel pretty dadgum good going into August because you're going to be. I think you feel good. And this is one of those road trips against 2 good ball clubs, and one that's trying to find their way back up the standings, and one who is you've been in front of you the whole time. And I think it's a great test. We talk about these little tests that come along. This is one of them, and these little mini tests. This is a test this weekend. And somebody talked about it last night in the broadcast, not letting your guard down. And this series is important. Let's see what Ronnie's got here as we wrap this thing up here. Last thing is my son is heartbroken to hear Gabby the news while we headed to the game. He left with Alexa May broken bat, and his night was made. Again, thank you, Monarchs Nation, for everything. We'll be right back tomorrow. Awesome. Roddy, that's great, man. And I think what we have to realize is the lives we all touch in this business. Myself, Gabby, Alexis, whoever, Morgan, all the people we touch and come in contact with. And we do get emotionally attached. It's sad when they go. We all are going to have those times when we have to step aside and go somewhere. And it does put a tear in the eye and makes the heart misty. But I appreciate all Gabby did, and I love to hear your attitude. And I'm so happy for you and your son. And we're so very thankful that you guys are part of the family, because it is a family. That clubhouse, the staff, this broadcast crew, folks that listen to us, the folks that come to the ball games, the host parents, the fans, everybody in this town that supports this ball club are one big baseball family. Folks from Baseball Fan KC, Sam, our friend up in Seattle, or Olympia, Washington, to folks tonight. We're going to have somebody in the booth tonight from Melbourne, Australia, who is a big fan of our brand as well. My mate Mick Horn, and we have folks all across the globe who are part of our family. So let's see. Jenny says Rock Chalk. Okay, well, I guess that's the cheer. Jenny, I'm just going to leave this. Can I show this again? Is that cool? Isn't that really cool? You guys see what that is? Strive for honor evermore. Long live the Matadors. Just throw it out there. Recom Tech. I know you guys own us in hoops. By the way, it was funny, Jenny, because the other night, my wife and I were going through our fall schedule, and I'm going, we got to go to the KU Tech game, the big football matchup in Lubbock. She kind of looked at me going like, really? I said, yeah, we got to go. So we're going. Kevin says lots of races among the race. Yes, lots of races. This association finish is going to be crazy because you've got the new playoff format where the team A picks the number 1 seed picks who they want to play, and the 4th place team's going to get in, and It's a lot to play for. Rock Chalk. You guys are all, so you guys are not very happy. You guys will be here tomorrow night, though. If you're here tonight, I want you here tonight. And gates open at 6. Don't forget tomorrow, 6 o'clock ball game. Tonight in the broadcast, again, I mentioned we expect to have my friend Mick Wern from Melbourne will join us and talk about the Australian Baseball League. I don't know when that'll happen, but he's here in the country. Really cool deal. He's actually seeing the next 3 weeks. He and his crew are going throughout the country, and their trip is going to end in Atlanta to see former Royal and Braves broadcaster, currently Peter Molo, who's the manager of the Melbourne Aces, works for the Braves television crew. That's where they're triple in, but they're coming through today. They were in Sioux City last night, and they're really big in the independent baseball brand in Melbourne, and it's always cool. And, of course, Lewis Thorpe not pitching tonight, but Lewis is from Victoria, grew up in the youth system and playing for the Aces as his debut as a professional, came with Melbourne in 2012. So I'm looking forward to having that tonight. Also, I'll revisit the protest in 1944, and we'll also have your Monarchs Coors Light flashback moment. Jackson will have something. We don't know what. He's working on that right now, I'm sure. And we'll have Joe Capietro and all that tonight on the broadcast. There's 2 places to watch the broadcast. Actually, 2 places to watch, 3 to listen, okay? First off, I'll promote this one first. You can go to our YouTube page, Kansas City Monarchs YouTube. You'll get the booth cam, which is this camera right here, from this angle, shooting back across, and it's us in the broadcast booth doing what we do in the broadcast booth. Okay, that's one. Number 2, AA Baseball TV. AA Baseball TV, that's the association site, $14.99 will get you home and away games of all the teams, and you want to go back and watch the walk-off last night, it's up. You can see that right now on AA Baseball TV. Perhaps the All-Star game, it's up in the archives as well. That's the video broadcast with our audio, home and away. You'll be able to hear that on the dual stream. And then you radio folks, which is the way I believe baseball ought to be. Best game on radio. We'll be on MixLR, MixLR.com, Kansas City Monarchs right there. That is the place to go. We begin at 6:30 tonight, and we'll come your way from here at Legends Field in Kansas City and be ready to go tonight at the top of the hour. TV, join us around 1:45 on the AA Baseball site. So there you go. Booth cam, AA Baseball, MixLR, all that tonight on what we call the Kansas City Monarchs Broadcast Network, which is right there. And we hope to have you guys tonight on the broadcast. Appreciate everybody stopping by today. Hope you enjoyed the good news highlights. And Ronnie and Kevin and Jenny and Mark and Jeff and Nate and Ordo and Mom and Stito and, Nate Herron, everybody out there. Mark, thanks for stopping by. Tickets at monarchsbaseball.com, monarchsbaseball.com. Get them, get them, get them. Get them, get them, get them. Get them, get them, get them. That's the new ticket motto. Get them, get them, get them. I guess. I just made that up, so it's not really the motto, but anyway. All right. 1, 2, 3, go Monarchs. You guys ready? I know Mark's ready. You guys ready for the 1, 2, 3, go Monarchs? I'm ready for 1, 2, 3, go Monarchs. Here we go. Here we go. Everybody ready to go? Let me bring this down here. All right. Doing a little production on the fly here. Here we go. All righty. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go Monarchs. I'll see you in the broadcast and everybody. Jason Gillespie bats 6. The Swinney hits one out toward right field, drifting back at the warning track and reaching up, and that ball's gone. See you later. Solo home run, Darnell Swinney. He will touch them all. It kept carrying and carrying and carrying, and just over that. 1-2. Towered out toward right. Drifting out is Carranza. Coming in is Yo. It'll be Carranza, the second baseman, makes the play. Tagging from third, coming home and scoring. Heading to third is John Hernandez. De La Guerra coming home. And Carranza, the second baseman. Ball 1 strike. There goes Thompson. Grounded right side. Base hit down the line toward the corner. Thompson's on the move here. Rounding third. Here's a relay throw. There'll be no throw. They'll walk it off. On Casey Gillespie's line shot down the right field line.
a walk-off winner. 3-2 Kansas City.